All right, welcome in hockey fans to another episode of the Pro Hockey West Report. Scott Strandy with you tonight from Denver, Colorado. Stephen Marsh in the upper right-hand corner from Las Vegas, Nevada. Nick Maxon from beautiful Apple Valley, Minnesota. I'm going to get it right now. Guys, how are you tonight?
Doing good, Scott. It's amazing. We're at August 23rd, which means the hockey news and the hockey schedule is going to start getting very busy very quickly. I know the NHL slogan isn't October yet, but for us who are in the business, is it September yet? Really is when things really start to pick up. So it's just insane that we're already here and we're about to get ready to start for some training camps and for some organized team activities. So we're getting excited. I can tell you that hockey season's just around the corner.
All right, Stephen, how are things in Vegas? I'll see you there in about 24 hours.
Yeah, you're coming here for a couple of days and bake in the Vegas sun that is Las Vegas. But things are pretty good here. As we said, September on the horizon. Things will be getting going pretty soon, but we're just kind of enjoying the last minutes of extra time in summers and the pool and a little bit of baseball here and there.
Shush.
Maybe some Cracker Jacks and whatever else, apple pie. Whatever else.
I hear you. Yeah, everything that is summer. One of the things that's kind of concluding summer around the hockey world is golf tournaments. Everybody seems to have one. I'm on my way out to Vegas for the UNLV one, which will be on Friday. Monday, I spent the day at Meridian Golf Club here in Denver with the Denver Pioneers, who, guys, there was so much NHL and AHL and NCAA. I call it past, present, and future talent on the ice that was actually on the golf course. And if you want to see some guys hit golf balls, they can hit it a mile. Almost every group could hit it a mile. So it was a lot of fun. I was still, as much as I know hockey, I was still amazed at how many NHLers went through Denver at one point. And they've even recruited more. Devon Taves, for example, became an honorary member of Denver. He went to the pro camp last week, went to the golf course. So I had a few minutes to chat with a few guys that are in our coverage area. You guys will recognize the name. Troy Terry, of course, the all everything at Anaheim. The just recently crowned Stanley Cup champion, Logan O'Connor, who I found out back channel that they are neighbors and share a fence. So right here in Denver. So that was kind of cool. And then Cameron Wright, who made the jump from the University of Denver last spring after winning an NCAA championship, and is now signed to play with the Loveland team, the Colorado Eagles. So lots of stuff. Let's jump to that now and see what I put together.
All right, it's the DU Golf Tournament. It's another fundraiser. Why not bring a former Pioneer and the NHLer, Troy Terry, is with us. Troy, first of all, congratulations on a good year last year.
Thank you. No, I mean, it was something I felt I was building towards, and it was nice to finally get some more confidence in the NHL and just play the brand of hockey that I've always wanted to in that league.
Talk about DU hockey if you can for a minute. What does it mean to you, and what does it mean to your career?
I'm not shy about it. Anyone that knows me knows that I'm about as passionate DU alumni as you'll find. DU especially is something that I grew up watching. The Avs games the Avs tickets were a little more expensive, so my parents would get, DU hockey tickets growing up. So they're games that I went to since I was, 8 years old, and it was the only school I ever wanted to go to. It was the only offer I ever got, and then, to live that dream, and then, to make the relationships that I have here and to win a national championship there. And it's something that, is super special to me. Probably the best 3 years of my life. I mean, just making lifelong friends and and playing at a high level of hockey and you know, winning championships.
I think it goes for all of us alumni here. If it weren't for DU, you know, we wouldn't be where we're at in our careers, whether it's hockey or work-wise. I think we all owe DU a lot, and it's nice to get everyone together. You know, guys you haven't seen in a while, alumni you've heard about, maybe haven't connected with too much, and bring everyone together here in a perfect day for golf.
DU alum playing in the golf tournament. How does it feel today?
Feels good. I'm super excited. You know, a lot of good hockey players, a lot of good DU members here, and a lot of people to meet and make connections with. So I think it's gonna be a great day, and I'm super excited for it.
How's it been over the summer?
It's been good. It's been a lot of fun. You know, a lot of people congratulating us and the team on our success, and it's been good getting ready to head up to there to Loveland and get ready for the next season and put this last season behind us.
Finally come back and see these guys after they, you know, had accomplished so much this year. It's been special, and you know, I just love talking with them, whether they're asking me questions, whether I'm just, you know, asking them about their college lives or whatever it is. It's just fun to be around them, and you know, especially this team I'm super proud of.
Thanks, Troy.
Yep.
All right, guys, we're back. Hope you enjoyed the feature. Quickly thrown together because that's what happens in these events. They had 100 players, as you probably heard. They were shooting for 132 next year. It's been 30 to 40 years since they actually had a Denver hockey golf tournament, which amazes me.
Wow.
They played golf tournaments, but they played it with what they call the Redcoats, and they kept finding out that there was more hockey players that were showing up than any other group of athletes at Denver, so they decided to start putting on their own, and well received. They called it a fundraiser, not a fundraiser. They specifically said, we're not here to dig in your pockets. We're here to bring everybody together as a Denver alumni and go on. So hopefully everybody enjoyed it. I think there was a couple of common themes that ran through it. They all said one thing, that they're turning the page on last year, whether it was an NCAA championship or a very good season in Troy Terry's case or a Stanley Cup season in Logan O'Connor's case. They all now know it's the 23rd of the 25th when this airs of August, and it's time to turn the page. The second common theme that was brought through everybody was their pride in the University of Denver. They all came back with the same names, Bozak and Stastny, as the two that made impressions on them when they were at Denver. And now that they come back as the quote-unquote old men pros, they are trying to carry that same legacy on to the young men at Denver. So a lot of fun there. I will be at one more of these at Colorado College later on in September, just before the start of the season. So we'll have that. But tonight, I thought maybe we just bounce around the chat room again. We got lots of stuff still happening. So let's start with Nick. Nick, where do you want to go first?
So let's start with the Ontario Reign. Again, the affiliate of the Los Angeles Kings. A lot of news here, Scott. I think the biggest one just announced today is their new ECHL affiliate with the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. And
Love it.
You know, and these are kind of fun, Scott, because for the casual hockey fans, you know, we all know of the NHL and the AHL relationship, but what often doesn't get enough credit is the AHL and the ECHL pipelines that are really starting to develop, and not only across the league and across the game, but more so they're sticking with the same programs. And so we talked about it, I think, the last couple of weeks, where you're having, you know, the same coaching and the same systems being taught in the minors and in the pros, and you almost feel like it's starting to again stretch further down into the AA type systems here again with the ECHL. So very, very cool. So, mind you, the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, we don't know, they haven't, they're not new. They've been around for a while, over 20 years. Wow. First hockey to ever be in Greenville was back in 1998. So this is not a new thing. In fact, how about this? Current Kings goaltender Jonathan Quick also spent some time in the East Coast Hockey League. If you can't remember that, back with the Reading Royals back in 07-08. Yeah. He's been, let's say he's done all right, you know, since his time in there. So that's kind of the biggest thing is, again, Los Angeles, the Reign, and now the Swamp Rabbits, now all under the same umbrella in terms of trying to continue that deep root of player development. Also some signings here for you, Scott. I think this is a couple of big ones here too. So Alan Quine, also coming over from Stockton, now Calgary as well. So 28 points, 6 goals, 22 assists in 39 regular season games. So I think he battled some injuries throughout the season. So this is a big one.
Yeah.
His best season was just about 7 years ago. He had a career high 61 points. So there is some upside to his game in terms of the offense. So it's a good signing here for Ontario. And then if we look a couple of other more depth signings, if you want to call it, let's bring this up here right here in just a moment here. I think 5 players, if I recall, all signed a 1-year, 2-way contracts, if I recall correctly. First one is Joe Gatenby. He's a defenseman, 41 points from last season, and then a couple of forwards. A few of our listeners up here in the Midwest may know a few of these. Alex Irulo, the former Bemidji State Beaver, Brett Kemp, Justin Nauerbach, and then Nikita Pavelich. So a couple of, again, depth signings here for Ontario, but nonetheless, again, this late, again, in August, usually, a lot of these big group signings happening earlier in the summer, but Ontario re-upping some guys who have AHL experience, some ECHL experience, and continue to bolster their rosters, even as we are about to turn the page into September, Scott.
Yeah, good stuff. Very good stuff. That's the neat part about it, Nick. It doesn't really stop. It just keeps going all summer long. There's guys moving around. They're trying to fill roster spots. And you're exactly right on the cohesiveness between NHL, AHL, now ECHL. I can give you an example of Colorado last year. Every time the Avalanche needed a player and they plucked him from the AHL roster, there was almost an immediate response from the AHL team taking a guy from the ECHL. And they did back and forth. So in order to keep things cohesive and working like a well-oiled machine, that's what you need to do, is have all 3 teams working on the same plane, if you will. Steven?
Well, and Colorado even had, we talk about geography can be your friend, and for Colorado's instances, it's the case because the ECHL affiliate for the, I believe it's the Utah Grizzlies for the Avs.
Yes, it is. Yep.
So you got Colorado, you got Loveland, and then you got Utah, Salt Lake City, which isn't that far away. So it's easy. It's not like you're going from Savannah, which is the Golden Knights, and now you're talking about Greenville, which is a little bit of a ways from LA, but
a little bit. It's a little bit. Country, my friend.
Crisscross country.
I'm waiting for that Swamp Rapids Ghost Pirates matchup in the ECHL.
Nice. Yeah, we're going to send you on a road trip to cover that one, by the way.
We will. And Scott, to your point, and to your point too, Scott, you're starting to see this migration amongst organizations. I still remember when the Minnesota Wild, their closest AHL was down in Houston, and it was not easy to not only just to call up players, but to get them in to uniform, because it was a flight. Now it's a quick drive, or it's a much quicker flight from good old Des Moines, and then just across the state east, the Quad City Mallards, the ECHL affiliate. So a lot of centralization, a lot of localization amongst the other franchises, and again, more of an emphasis, at least from me, on the coaching and the development program. So that way, it doesn't matter which player you pluck, that there's a better chance that player can be an impact whichever roster, whichever team that they join. So again, continuing to kind of create those pipelines to get those cohesiveness. And as you mentioned beforehand, this will eventually, I think, still trickle down even further. This may even get into not a direct affiliation, but maybe NCAA. We're starting to see again with Denver, with Colorado, both the Avalanche and the Eagles really starting to be in the same page with systems and coaching, and really just trying to continue to develop players at a higher level further and further down the pipeline.
That's a great point, because I don't know if that's, if feasibly that's going to happen. But I think outside the box, it's happening, because guess what? The scouts for the Eagles and the scouts for the Avalanche happen to be right here in Denver. It's an easy trip. I see a lot of them in the press box looking at various players, whether it be from Denver or from their opponent. So, yeah, I think, and the other thing, Nick, I'll say is that I think the quality of play, and we talked about this on the podcast, Paul Hornstein and myself, that the quality of play in the NCAA right now has gotten so good that it's easy to make the transition, or easier, to either AHL or ECHL, or in the case of Mr. McCarr, right to the NHL. All right, Steven, let's jump into it. Who you got?
Well, I want to mention one other thing too about the ECHL is that has really grown too, and the progression of that league too. Of course, that league's been around for a long time. Of course, it made its way out west here, and of course, it's interesting because a lot of the teams that were west in the ECHL are now American Hockey League teams. So that just goes to show you that the growth there. And what I think is another thing that's changed too, just from when I followed the league more closely when we had an ECHL team here is that a lot of these ECHL teams have one affiliation with the team. There were some teams that didn't have any affiliation; they were independent, so they kind of plucked players to different teams, and different teams would kind of take them. Or you'd have maybe a dual affiliation, and there's still some of that, but it's not as common as it was before. And I think as we talked about having what Nick was saying about everybody kind of being on the same page organizationally, from the ECHL level to the AHL level, NHL level, it's harder to do that when you've got two organizations under affiliations, whatever the case may be, or nobody, and you're just kind of, you take a player from an independent team and they're not familiar with how you want to do things. It takes a little bit more training and teaching to kind of get them up to speed on how you want them to play the game. Like I said, when the Golden Knights had development camp here, you had the Savannah coaches were here, the Henderson coaches obviously here, and the NHL coaches were here, and they were all kind of training, because a lot of the guys are going to be ECHL, some will be American Hockey League, or some won't be anything yet. They'll go back and they'll go back to college or juniors or whatever, but at least they're familiar with how the organization is ran from that perspective. So I think that's a lot of difference between the ECHL. The ECHL is still the ECHL, and the way they play is a little bit different than the other levels, but it's a little bit different than how it was maybe 10 years ago or so.
Let me quickly interject one more thing, and then we'll jump into this. The other thing is, we had Joey DeCord on a podcast here about 3 weeks ago, something like that, and he had a unique situation. His first year as part of the Seattle franchise had him in North Carolina, Raleigh, maybe, I can't remember exactly where it was, but they were sharing an AHL facility with Seattle and Florida, and I asked him about that. He said it was really odd the first couple of weeks, because the Seattle guys stuck together and the Florida guys stuck together, and trying to blend them into a team. But he said, where they blended? At the golf course, or at Top Golf. They put them all together. They made them come together as a team. And then he says from that point forward, they were just whatever, Charlotte, I guess that's where the Checkers, Charlotte Checkers. Yeah. So he said that's one thing that really took over. So, Steven, who do you got first? Bakersfield?
We're gonna go with Bakersfield and Edmonton. Not a whole lot has come down from that. I want to mention one thing with Bakersfield. They're going to be going into their 25th season of play, so that's going to be exciting for them. We did find out today that the NHLPA Rookie Showcase is going to be taking place in DC this coming September 6th, and the Edmonton Oilers representative Holloway, let me get his first name here, Dylan Holloway, is going to be representing the Oilers organization in that. Brendan Brisson is going to represent the Golden Knights. As others that are from each team will have a player representative in that when they go to DC, the Virginia area, in September. So that's kind of the big story there. But other than that, I don't really see any big signings or anything. They're going to have this will be Woodcroft's first season as full-time coach of the Oilers, so it'll be exciting to see what happens with that, and they'll be opening up camp here soon, and to see what kind of position they put themselves in for the upcoming season.
I got one thing for you. Mark Stewart, the former coach at Colorado College, is now an assistant coach with Jay Woodcroft, and
that's right.
That will be interesting. Mark Stewart, veteran of the NHL and great college player, and Coach Mayotte told me just recently that he really was hard to watch him leave because he had such an impact at Colorado College. They just signed a new assistant coach. John Lidgett is coming in to work with Peter Menino and Chris Mayotte. But, yeah, a little tie with Stewie going up to Edmonton. So,
and I guess I could mention this, too, about Mata. He won silver medal from the World Juniors with Finland. Yeah. So we have that one. That one, probably Joel Mata.
At the end of the show, I think we have to touch about that gold medal game, but we'll get to that in just a minute, because that's got a guy from the Ducks that had a pretty big role in helping.
Very big role, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, Good stuff, Stephen. I'll jump in with the Colorado Eagles. Not a lot happening there. I guess the big news of the week was Shane Bowers coming back under a two-way contract with the Avalanche and the Eagles. So he's a very talented hockey player that last year just never seemed to get on track, whether it be injuries or whatever. And the Avalanche gave him a lot of opportunities early, and they didn't. It didn't really materialize for him, so he kept coming back and was working on specific things as you would do in the AHL. But I think Shane Bowers coming back is a big thing. They also signed a goaltender, Lucas Perrick, to an AHL contract. So shoring things up in Loveland is a big thing. We'll see what happens. As everybody knows, Nazem Kadri signed with Calgary this week, so his role is gone. They'll need to fill that. Jason Megna obviously is one of the guys that will get a good look. He's been up with them before, and he's was the captain last year of the Eagles. So whether Jason's down there or with the big club, he's going to make an impact somewhere along the line. So that's basically what's happening. They have set their opening night, as we talked about before, but they're playing it up. It's the 21st of October. They're going to get the team from Calgary. Has a name now. They're the Wranglers. So look for Colorado to try to get off to a hot start like everybody wants to. And we'll talk about the rookie face-off tournament for our teams in the West, which we'll get to at the end of the show. But that's pretty much it from Colorado land. Nick, who you got next?
So let's go to Anaheim. Just because I think a couple of things, right? And this is more not necessarily new news, Scott, but more so why certain players choose to sign with a different team, right? And I think this is, I don't know if it's unique to the hockey landscape, but I think it is more focused in our sport than I say other sports, such as the NFL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball. And I want to take a story about Austin Strand. Again, it's coming over from the Kings organization to Anaheim. Yep. And one thing that he mentioned, and what I'm trying to bring up with is, he knows the coaching staff very well. We're talking about Jeff Solomon. We're talking about AGM in terms of Craig Johnson, Mike Stothers as an assistant coach. And he talked about how a player can really, when they sign with another team, and whether it's by choice or, maybe there was something more attractive and there's a mutual decision, how much that can influence a player's decision, Scott. And so I guess the question with you that I want to ask you is, when we look at player movement around, whether it's the NHL, the AHL, whichever level you want to go with, and how big of a coaching impact is to these players. And we sort of are seeing this too at the NCAA level, where coaches let's look at the Chris Mann effect. It's happening with Colorado College. I still think they might be the surprise of the NCHC just because of the type of coach that he is, and just the relationships he built with the USA Hockey organization. But we're seeing that even at this level. And I'm just curious, Scott, is it really unique to hockey that we're seeing these relationships kind of factor into player movement, in and around the leagues?
I don't know how unique it is, Nick, but I will tell you that it makes a big difference. I think I said last week that Steve Potvin getting the job in Tucson, a number of players that are now in the NHL and still in the AHL talked about how important he was to their development. And I'm not just talking about the X's and O's or, winning faceoffs or positioning or shooting the puck at the right time or those little things, but I'm talking about the maturity off the ice, because it's tough. If you come from a really good NCAA program and you're a star, you're a captain, you're a leader, and all of a sudden you come and you think I'm going to NHL, and the NHL says, no, you're not ready yet. Now you have to come and perform at the AHL level. You need that coach. You need that relationship type coach that can keep you on the path, because if not, you can get wayward really quickly, and it takes 1 or 2 years of waywardness and the organization is done with you. And I want to use another example. It's not really for that purpose, but more due to injury. But Brinson Pasichnuk left Arizona State as a very top defenseman in NCAA hockey when he left. He went to San Jose on a free agent signing, and he got sick. He got a illness that he's still dealing with, and lost a lot of playing time. And basically 2 years into his deal, they said, yeah, we're not going to renew you. And that was a little bit different because of that. But I know plenty of players that have gone into camps and not been able to get through that. So, yeah, to answer your question in a long way, it does make a huge difference, and especially in hockey because it's a team game, but it's a one-on-one also, right? You have a role to do, and you've got to do your role the very best that you can.
Stephen, I'm curious if you have a different perspective on this or if you agree with Scott's sentiment. I'm with Scott on this. I think it does make a huge difference, but maybe I'll rephrase the question. Should it make a big difference, or is this just because the camaraderie, maybe it's just about our game, that the camaraderie from the players, the coaches, again, coaches, a lot of them former players themselves at different levels, they understand what it takes to bring a team together. And to Scott's, hometown Denver, whether it's the Pioneers or whatnot, it was a big push for them that ended up helping them win an NCAA championship. So should it be like this, or do you think that maybe is it too close to the chest for a lot of these organizations?
I think it certainly is for some organizations more than others. I think that's one thing that we saw a big drastic change in Vegas kind of the last little bit with some of the players that ended up leaving the organization, that brought a lot of character and fun to the locker room, but the changes have been made, and hopefully we'll see if that gets back to that. That's one thing that I think that does make hockey overall as a sport great is there does seem to be a lot of that, more so than in other sports. Certainly you see it in other sports, but it does seem like, especially when it comes to like contracts and stuff with money, like certain players making a ton of money and other players not. There's a disparity there. NHL is that way too, but it does seem like everybody seems like it roots for each other, even when outside of their team, and when you see them, in the off season, they always seem to hang out with each other. It's like a big fraternity, and maybe that happens in other sports too, but I don't think it happens to the extent that it does in hockey. You don't hear about a lot of NFL players from other teams hanging out too much in the off season, or NBA players or whatever it is. I think you see it more in hockey. They always talk about how close the hockey community is, and I think we see that time and time again.
And to add on that quick, Scott, too, I'll give you guys a little bit of a story here on how it can be both, I think, positive and negative. I think that the biggest positive I can realize, I had a chance to sit down and talk to Nick Dowd about a year ago, and we asked him about his favorite coach. And you might be surprised at the answer. Can anybody guess maybe who his favorite coach was? If the name was Daryl Sutter, that was the correct answer. Yes. I think to the naked eye, right, to the fans, Daryl Sutter is a strict coach. He's a guy that's, a few words maybe. But he mentioned a very specific time where he was, caught essentially out of defensive position, which led to a goal, and effectively an intermission. Daryl Sutter essentially just kind of called out his entire line and said, hey, guys, so I guess we're not going to be just playing defense tonight. We're just going to rumble around and not get our structure and just kind of be basically calling them lazy. And he said, it was just a couple of words. The coach went off. It was about to start the next period, and they all looked at each other and said, you know what? He's right. Sometimes it's good to have that nice kick. And he still, to this day, claims that, this was, one of the better coaches he had an opportunity to coach with. On the opposite end, sometimes that locker room, I think Minnesota Wild fans know this well. How about the Parise Suter stuff that happens, behind closed doors, right? Where you have, I'm not sure if you can describe it, Scott, as too close of a relationship, but not too much of a personal, maybe not enough of a professional relationship where it can sort of muddy the waters a little bit. And then, dare I say, with lack of a better phrase, maybe the what do you call it? The hunt become the hunted, per se. So to me, it goes both ways. But I think more and more you're seeing that, the organizations from the coaching staff and also the upper management, they're getting more apt to how to control those types of situations. So it's still a very approachable type situation, but also making sure that at the end of the day, we're still the ones making the decisions. And, we will, yes, your input's valued, but it's still our call no matter what.
Well, I thought this was interesting. Apparently, Max Pacioretty said something recently after he moved over to Carolina about the atmosphere in Vegas kind of being kind of laid back. And I think Sinbin.Vegas wrote a column about this, that he felt like maybe that there wasn't much accountability, that they wouldn't be playing well or something, and there wasn't the hard pressed questions from whether it be from the media or whatever. It's just kind of like, you show up to the rink and that everything was kind of positive. And Sinbin mentions that the TV rights are owned by the team, the radio stuff's all owned by the team. They kind of manage that. Obviously, we know that at times how the message can be controlled from the Golden Knights PR staff or whatever. At least that's the perception in the past. So I think I think there's some of that. That's why some of these other markets you go to, like New York or Cal, they're always tough because the media there, doesn't matter. And I'm not. That isn't a knock on the media. It's just the whole atmosphere of being in Vegas. Oh, you're playing hockey in Vegas and stuff, and everything. So I thought that was interesting when he said that, and he wondered if that was really an issue or whether it was just Pacioretty. I guess this is what he said. Yeah, go ahead.
It was an issue. It was an issue from the very start in Vegas. I've been in a lot of locker rooms. It was an issue from the very start, and that's why Gerard Gallant was the perfect manager of that group. And just because they started off a little slow, that next year after the Stanley Cup run, I think they all will probably admit that it was a mistake to let him go. They should have let him work through it, but they got a little spoiled. And when you get a chance to go to the Stanley Cup in your inaugural season, that'll do that to you. But yeah, you're 100% right. The other thing that plays into this, guys, I don't care what people say, it's the fan base. Steven knows this. Your fans fall in love with players, Marc-Andre Fleury, and whether they want it, coaches, media, all of that, if they want to admit it or not, it plays a role. Because when people are going nuts at the Fortress for Marc-Andre Fleury, and then all of a sudden you trade him, and then if you don't get fair value back, you're criticized by the masses now. Mm-hmm. And that can cause a lot of problems because hockey players can pretty much go anywhere and never be accosted. But you do that, and you're the head coach or you're the GM, you better watch where you go because people are going to speak their mind to you.
I think the one exception, Scott, would be Toronto.
Yeah, they're tough.
Good stuff. All right, Steven, who are we back to now? I lost track, guys.
I think we're going to go back to Steven here for his second.
For Henderson.
Yeah, right. Perfect. Speaking of the Golden Knights organization, let's talk about Henderson for a minute. They did have one signing this past week. Alex Svetlikov was signed to a 2-year AHL contract. So he comes from the Western Hockey League with Everett's Silvertips over there up there in Washington, 21-22 season. Of course, he was here at development camp in July, and I don't remember seeing him too much, but he was, of course, there at the development camp. He's a 6'3" forward, 4 seasons with the WHL. So it'll be a nice little pickup for the Silver Knights. From the Golden Knights' perspective, they just finished. Speaking of getting out there and branding yourself, marking yourself, this is their 4th year they've done this. They did a little road trip this year. They went to different places like Montana. They made a stop in Salt Lake City, Boise, Idaho, where they're going to play a preseason game in October. They're going to play, like I said, they went to Montana, and so they made some stops there. A couple of the players, broadcasters did some clinics, and I think Connor Ford was at the Idaho stop, and Shea Theodore and Brandon McNabb were at the first stop on the tour. They obviously couldn't do this during COVID, so they kind of got back to that, and that was one thing from the beginning. The Golden Knights branding themselves as a team of the Rocky Mountains, so, trying to get that whole region. So getting, going to places like Utah, which I was in Utah recently for just for another reason, and I was talking with somebody that I know there, and we had lunch while I was there, and he talks about how much the fans love the Golden Knights in Utah. That the fans in Utah pretty passionate about the Golden Knights, and he went and covered Frozen Fury last year there, and he was talking about it was a lot of Golden Knights fans there. So it's kind of interesting that the Utah market there does like the Golden Knights, and I think the same with Montana. Obviously, Foley's got a base there in Montana and stuff. So it's kind of cool that they do that, and so it was kind of cool that they have that going on. And of course, they're gonna try to brand that whole market as they love to do.
Yeah, that bus trip is fantastic. They love doing it. They love broadcasting from it. It ends up, I think, at Bill Foley's ranch at some point up in Montana. So I'm
sure they stopped there.
he saw the value of picking up fans in that area, and he went after it. So shocker there that Bill Foley went after something, right?
Right.
Right.
Okay, so let's bring it back to Arizona. Let's start with this. The home of the Arizona State Sun Devils has a new official name today.
Yes.
It is the.
It's also the temporary home of the Coyotes.
It's the Mullet Arena, and a lot of people are making jokes immediately. It is the last name of Don Mullet, who has donated a ton of money to the program and done a lot of great things from the very time that they started the program. The Coyotes will play there. I thought Arizona State fans were reclaiming their building, though. They said in all fun with the mullet, it's Arizona State in the front and Coyotes in the back.
I just can't wait to see all the headlines, all the puns, all the stuff that's going to come from this mullet.
Here's the thing. Greg Powers and the guys at Arizona State got out in front of it right away. They knew the name was going to cause a little bit of puns and jeers and jabs and things like that. So they came right out and they said, "Hey, we're looking to fill the place up with mullet maniacs." They played on it over and over and over again because guess what, guys? If you make fun of yourself, it's not fun for anybody else to make fun of you.
That's right.
So
Correct.
you just go do it and you grab it by the horns, and they did it right from the moment they announced it. Barry Melrose and John Buccigross came out with the thing showing a picture of Buccigross without a mullet, and Barry Melrose, of course, still has his. And so I think it's fun, and I think they said the same thing. It's a great name for an arena with hockey fans, especially college ones, because Nick, you know this, they have the all-hair team at the high school tournament.
Oh,
correct?
Yes.
So
It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
It's huge. And I think what's funnier, Scott, too, is, this is the guy who does those videos is just an average Joe. I mean, I'm not trying to, no disrespect to him, but he's not a guy that works for the Minnesota State High School Hockey League. He was essentially a YouTuber that just started clipping these things together. He just essentially DVR'd it. And now it's almost like the last 5 or 6 years now, it's almost like a rite of passage where after the end of the tournament, everybody's waiting to see what 10 or 15 best hairstyles he actually picks in that order. And no question that the players themselves have caught on to it, and they are definitely trying to one up themselves. Some of the things that you see, depending on your styling preferences, can make you cringe or it can make you completely smile. It's a wonderful thing. And again, for a college campus, you want it to be fun, right, Scott? You don't want it. You want it to have, a sense of being a professional building and whatnot. But, again, college rinks, it's all about having fun. It's about, if it's with your name, so be it, right? You want to have that atmosphere that by the time you walk in the doors, it's going to be a fun time and you're going to be able to watch a fun sport and be able to go back home and say, I want to go back there next weekend or the next time that they're home, because that was a lot of fun to be at.
Well, I threw out the fact that here in Denver, as Nick, their logo is Boone, right?
Yes.
And a lot of people really razz them for that. They're going like, really? And they go, yeah, he's the pioneer. He's the guy. They came, a couple of places, or one place that I think it's GoDU.com came out with a Boone jersey that you could order that had the Boone logo on the front and the Denver colors. It was not associated with the school. It was separate as like an alumni base or something. But at the national tournament, Boone was a big thing. So that's kind of quote unquote corny, if you will, as kind of the mullet name. But I really think if ASU hadn't jumped out and done it, I think it would have become a wave of things for other teams. Nick, I know you probably saw it on Steven. I don't know if you did, but University of Minnesota came out with their schedule in a very unique way, didn't they? And
very unique, yes.
Yeah. So basically, Steven, what they did was every team they were playing, they came up with some sort of comedic gif, I guess, kind of, right? Mm-hmm. And for Arizona State at the time, they didn't have a naming right. So they said, they had all their jerseys and they said, what will we wear? We have nothing to wear, or something like that, as a play on all the jerseys that they have. But if you can imagine, if the mullet arena had been out there, there would have been something about mullets. You know that, right? But
I kind of wonder if they would have done anything with the state high school hockey tournament hair just to just to play with it too. That would have been pretty good.
So I think Arizona State did a fantastic job. Now here's the thing. An NHL team, I'm sorry, guys, you can throw me hate mail. I'm going there. You'll probably slash my tires or something on Sunday through Wednesday when I'm there. But an NHL team does not belong for any reason or any length of time in a college rink. It does not. In my estimation, they should have gone to Arizona. Sorry, Chad Berman. I know you're a college team too, but that facility has been for the last 5 years, 6 years, primarily for AHL hockey. You should have moved them there. You would have had 7,500 seats, not 4,700 seats, and you had your affiliate from the AHL right there with you with the Tucson Roadrunners. That's what should have happened. I think they did a panic. I think Arizona State realized that they needed a place and there was some money to be had, and you can't blame them for that. But I feel bad for the Arizona State program because of the fact that there's no college feel, and they're trying, and they're going to do it. But you know what's going to happen, right? I texted Steven today, and I said, first game it's played between, that just throw out Vegas, and it's the Coyotes and the Golden Knights live from the mullet. You know, that's what's going to happen. And I don't think Greg Powers and the ASU deserves that. So anyway, that's my my touch on the Tucson Roadrunners. Let's take a break. Let's come back from break and let's dig into the final two teams, and then let's talk about that rookie face-off tournament that we're going to be at. Bringing it to you from San Jose. We'll be right back.
The NCHC, where the best in college hockey compete, and the numbers back it up. In the past 8 years, 6 teams in national title games and a run of 4 consecutive national championships, 2 Hobey Baker winners, and 46 All-Americans. More than 70 alumni in the NHL with multiple Stanley Cup champions. A leader and innovator in the sport, including a one-of-its-kind pod. One conference, creating champions and improving the game. This is the NCHC.
Really, JR? You think you can still do this?
I'm focused.
You're way too old to hit that target from there.
I've been listening to everything you said. It's been running through my head, locked and loaded.
All right, still got it. Still got it.
Who's old now?
More than 140 live games from the nation's best college hockey conference. Ready for you wherever you are, however you want to watch. Your favorite team is on NCHC.TV. On your phone, tablet, or stream to your TV. Subscribe now to watch the best in college hockey at NCHC.TV. If it's NCHC hockey, it's on NCHC.TV.
All right, we are back. Welcome back in, hockey fans. Last segment coming up of the new Pro Hockey West Report. Scott Scrandy with you in Denver. Stephen Marsh in the upper right-hand corner in Las Vegas, Nevada. Nick Maxon, Apple Valley, Minnesota for the time being. We're going to move him, folks, pretty soon. I promise. We're putting him on the move. Anyway, we've got stuff to talk about. We've got 2 more teams to quickly recap. So, Nick, jump in with your team. I don't even remember where we're at. We talked
Coachella Valley. It's the only one that we have left. A place that I believe you're going to be visiting this week as well. So
that's my plan.
That is the plan. How about this plan though? Again, Coachella Valley is a newcomer to the game of hockey, and we talked about the last couple of shows and how their community outreach has been trying to essentially do outdoor essentially hockey. So, the big thing that they're going to be adding, however, next spring is the first ever adult hockey tournament at Acrisure Arena. This is actually kind of cool. So this is May and June 2023, and it's a minimum of 3 games. So this is what's kind of cool. Check this out, guys. Now, mind you, Scott, I can't speak for you, but I'm 35. I can still skate. But how about this? It's a Sunday through it's almost a week. So, hey, you get a pool party when you arrive on Sunday, right?
Nice.
The games are played Monday through Thursday. Again, it's a 3-game minimum for all the teams that are in this tournament. On Wednesday night, that's when the tournament awards are presented, and there's also a after party to be had with that. Thursday, there is, how about this? Hockey players, they also play what other sport? Well, they play golf with. There's a Thursday golf scramble with also additional prizes to be had. So this is kind of cool. So at the end of the day, too, one of the things that I want to continue to do, too, is once Scott does fulfill his wish, and he does get me down to the Southwest portion of the United States, I want to be able to still skate. This is a good way to do it, and also introduce and get more of your casual hockey fans, or maybe even just washed up guys like me, to get to Palm Springs and make it a hockey destination, Scott. So, Steven, I want to start with you on this. If you're still playing hockey, if you are 35, 40 years old, and you got a team that you want to bring down, is Palm Springs going to be the next destination for a adult hockey kind of week getaway?
Yeah, I mean, if you can't be in Vegas, I guess if you can go to Palm Springs. Palm Springs is
of course. You can't be in Vegas.
We got plenty of golf courses here in Las Vegas too. Just say we've got plenty of rinks and more going up, and we've got a lot of stuff here. So I've got to, of course, represent my Vegas people, but Palm Springs isn't a bad little place too. The weather there is beautiful as well, and they have a nice building there, Acrisure Arena, so that's cool and everything. So yeah, I mean, if you can't be in Vegas for whatever reason, I'm sure Palm Springs is a good place.
Okay, let me pump it up. If you can't be in Denver, anyway, go ahead.
Wow,
you want to sell Minnesota for us?
Yeah, well,
here for the state fair.
This is in May and June. This is where a lot of folks like to visit Minnesota, because by that time, at least there's less than 6 inches of snow on the ground. So that's always good. But what I wanted to mention was the company that's actually hosting the event. It's One Hockey. So they've been around since 2003, so almost 20 years. So it's something that they're used to doing. They put on tournaments across the country. And this one called Pucks in Paradise. I kind of like that. And then quickly for Acrisure Arena, speaking of a venue that's going to get a lot of playing time, especially in that spring, right? A lot of road games in the first half of the season for Coachella Valley before moving the franchise into the building once it's complete. Again, December 18th is their first ever regular season game in Acrisure Arena. But looking at an update, all the lower bowl seats have now been installed, Scott. So it looks like what they're now working on is the infrastructure to get the video board up. Again, this is on the east side of the arena. It's a pretty large video screen, and then also now work going into some of the finishing touches on even the suite level. So it's quickly starting to come together. And I'm also being told, at least from some of the sources that I have, is that some of the concrete glazing / ceiling is going to be going in this week to prepare for, some boards, maybe stuff to come up here at a later date. So they're starting to make some progress down there.
Now is the live stream of the arena construction still up?
Yeah.
Yes.
And how much time do you spend watching that live feed?
So for those who may look at, it's not that long, but I check it every day to kind of just see the progress. I used to do that with US Bank Stadium, the new home of the Minnesota Vikings, when they were going up. I did it a lot also when, speaking of Vegas, when the Allegiant Stadium was going up too. Those are again, Earth Cam, pretty good job. They've got 2 cams in Acrisure, one on the exterior, one on the interior. Exterior starting to take shape a little bit more. Still no any facade or siding that's going up just as of yet. So the cosmetics still yet to be done. Again, that's usually one of the last things that we see with a building of that size is getting the colors and all that good jazz to make it look like an actual building. But again, a lot of the meat potatoes on the inside starting to get installed, starting to come together.
That's why we got Nick. We get our weekly Acrisure construction update from Nick every week on this show.
We need that.
They should sponsor that segment too. So
we need to get a sponsor for that. All right.
So let me caution him on this. I was told by many people that ASU's arena was ahead of schedule, and I think they had visions of being on the ice there now. I think they thought the end of July, maybe 1st of August, they'd be skating there. Well, it's August 23rd. I was told by a trusted source, I think I can say that here. I'm not going to announce this, but there was supposed to be a NCAA exhibition game scheduled for there on the 28th of September before the start of the season. And I believe that may have to be switched to Oceanside because they won't be quite ready.
Oh, boy.
So there you go. 28th of September. We know that Arizona State's going to start on the road the first 2 weekends. They're going to be so that'll be October 1 and October 8, I guess, if you kind of want to throw that on your calendar. And then they'll come back on the 14th and open, or 14th or 15th, and open up that building. But that's how tight the window is for NCAA hockey. So it's not like.
And then what about the Coyotes? And then what about the Coyotes too? What's their first home game there? You know,
they're on the road. They're not going to be playing. I don't think they play until in November.
Okay, so they're
a home game. So
hopefully
that won't
everything's
affect them. But my point is,
yeah,
there's a lot more work and a lot slower paced work once you get into the finishing touches.
Correct.
Than there are. I mean, you throw the walls up quickly and the roof up quickly and the concrete up quickly and the seats in, they go in quickly. But when you start doing the fine woodwork and the wiring and the plumbing for all those suites, that's the stuff that's time consuming, and that's the stuff that can bog things down. So let's hope that Acrisure is on pace and that they get to where they need to go.
Well, you don't want to rush it either, because if you rush it and you're not as do as fine tune and check everything as well as it could be, and maybe then you have problems down the road where you have leaks or something. So if it takes a little bit more time to get it how you want it and perfect and stuff, then that's what you got to do.
All right, take us to San Jose, Stephen.
Speaking of new buildings, we're going to talk. Speaking of new buildings, San Jose is another new building we've been talking about, and there's going to be the rookie faceoff, and that's kind of what we'll just kind of lead things into. Not really any other news that I saw on the San Jose front, but of course that is where the rookie faceoff is going to be for 2022, and that's going to feature 6 teams: the Kings, the Avs, the Golden Knights, the Coyotes, the Ducks, and the Sharks.
Okay,
all
stop right there.
in that.
Stop right there. Let me stop you. There's 3 of us. There's 2 teams for each of us. So we're going to have some battles going on. Let's play it out this way. Nick and I are going to go head-to-head on Friday to start.
Yes, we will.
And then Stephen and I are going to go head-to-head in Game 2. And then Nick and Stephen are going to round out the Friday night game. So
Game 3,
you can figure that out. Who is it? Tell me who those teams are, Stephen. Come on.
It'll be LA and Colorado start things off at Tech CU Arena at 2:00 on the 16th of September, and then at 4:30 p.m. and on the Orange Rink, it's the other rink there in that building, the Golden Knights and the Coyotes, and then at 7:00 back at Tech CU Arena there in the other rink, it's the Ducks and the Sharks, the host team.
All right, so that's Friday, September 16th. We jump to Saturday, the 17th. I'm going to say it again. Here we go. Nick and Stephen are going to duke it out the first game. And Stephen will give us the names of the teams in a minute. And then it's going to be Nick and I duking it out in Game 2. So Nick gets a doubleheader. I get him on the rebound. So after Steve loosen them up a little bit, then I get him. That's typical for an old man. And then I get to take care of Stephen in the nightcap Saturday the 17th. Stephen, give us a rundown who those teams are and what time they're playing.
Yeah, so they got LA against the Golden Knights at 2:00 at Tech CU Arena, and Orange Rink at 4:30 is going to be the Ducks and the Coyotes, and then at 7:00 it's the Avs and the Sharks back at the main rink, Tech CU Arena.
Okay, since we'll all be tired, we get a day off on Sunday, and they come.
The day of rest. Sunday's a day of rest, remember? So
and they come back for Monday, September 19th. I'm going to punch myself in the face the entire time because I've got Arizona and Colorado. I just threw it out there, but that I had to do that because I'll be punching myself in the face. And then Nick and Stephen will go at it for the final 2 games. Stephen, give us a rundown on game times and what's going on Monday, September 19th to round out the rookie face-off.
Yeah, a little morning hockey on the final day. That's how this thing is set up there. They usually do these last games on the day in the morning, and so it's at Tech CU Arena. You're going to have the Coyotes and the Avs at 10 a.m. and then the Ducks and the Golden Knights at 12:30 p.m. at the Orange Rink, which is the other rink at that facility. And then at 3:00 you're going to have the Kings and the Sharks at Tech CU Arena.
And let me throw this out there. This is what I really love. If you haven't been to this event before, Stephen and I were at the one last year in in Arizona.
Yeah.
And then I was at the one in Vegas a couple of years before that, the initial one. But they sell day passes and they sell 3-day passes. And if you want to get a look at some really talented hockey players that are different, some of them will be NHLers when it's over with. Some of them will go back to the AHL, but they're all of them are right on the cusp. And this facility, I haven't been there yet, but I can tell you when we get there, I expect it to be like up close and personal, like it normally is, where you're going to see these guys, 6 feet away from you.
Well, I'll tell you what. Last year, there were some moments where it got pretty physical. I remember the last day, it was the Kings and the Golden Knights, which always has become a rivalry with the big clubs, and with the rookies, there was a fight in that game too. And I remember sitting there in Scottsdale and watching that, and it was quite about. Last year was quite interesting because the Coyotes hosted it last year, and the games that the Coyotes were involved in actually was at Gila River there in Glendale, so you had to go down there for that. So the first day I get there, I'm there. I get to go to Gila River, my one and only time there for a hockey game, and then obviously, and then of course the other days, the other teams all had to play at Scottsdale, ice in Scottsdale. So it was kind of interesting. This is all going to be in one place there at the new home of the. Like it should be. It was kind of weird that it was like that, and we talked about that last year when that was the case. But and it was so weird because it was so empty, and it's like you got to go all the way to Glendale. It was at Gila River, which was nice. You're in an NHL rink, but it was so empty in there. It was like anybody in there. And then you go to ice and Scouts. It's a little bit better. It was more obviously the Scouts were in there. It was a little bit more intimate and everything, and it felt like a rookie tournament. Stick one of those big NHL rink.
Media in the press box, even though you were nobody in the seats.
Yeah,
so
you're so and it's way up high, which I found out is high up there. It's at Gila River.
It's a mess. Not anymore.
But the popcorn was good. The popcorn was good though, and the pretzels were good there.
It's a concert venue now, so enjoy a concert.
That's right. Exactly.
Okay, guys. I don't have anything more. If you guys,
I got one thing. I got one thing, Scott, because you mentioned specific, young talent, that we would be seeing at this tournament. I think it's important real quick to mention Mason McTavish. Again, for Anaheim, San Diego, I think he will be with the big club. I think there's little question on that, but what a World Junior tournament that he had as captain of Team Canada. Not only in his offensive output, how about this 8 goals, 17 points? That ties Wayne Gretzky back in 1978 and Eric Lindros from 91 as the second most points scored ever by a Canadian player at the World Junior Championship. But also the big one, Scott, just to wrap it up real quick, is how about the goal that he saved towards the end there? So, granted, puck gets behind the netminder and out of midair is able to knock it down and then keep it from going across the goal line. So you talk about a guy that's got 200-foot player written all over, Mason McTavish. Not that he wasn't a highly touted player, again, a former third overall pick from last year's draft, but kind of showing that he was worth every dollar spent of getting him into the Ducks organization there at the World Juniors. Quite an impressive run.
Okay, let me quickly go over this. 2 points I have to make. Number one, he stopped that puck in midair on the goal line. Mm-hmm. And then he retrieved it. And if anybody's played hockey, you know how hard that is to retrieve a puck that he had literally inches to slide it across, and it would have been a goal and it would have been over. The other thing I want to throw in that is there was another stick that came into play, and it was young Connor Bedard that had his stick in there as well. So a little assist to Connor Bedard on keeping that one out with Mason McTavish. And finally you guys, I don't know if you knew this or not, but Mason McTavish is eligible for the 2023 World Junior Tournament as well. Mm-hmm. So he could go back. He's not going to. I'm sure Anaheim's not going to let him. But if he chose to and they let him, he could go back in December and play again, which is scary because he plays a half a year in the NHL again and then goes back in the World Juniors. It's not fair competition.
Not at all. Heck of a player.
Yep. Fantastic. Congratulations, Canada, for capturing the gold, and Finland, what an effort. You never say die in that sport, and they didn't.
100%, Scott.
All right, let's say goodnight and ask everybody to tune in again next week. We'll have some more good stuff for you. I'm making the tour through the Southwest, the deep Southwest, Vegas, Coachella Valley, Tucson, Phoenix. I will be through all of them over the next week, so we'll talk to you next week. Good night.